Hey, we're the Turd Nerds. We're glad you're here. Before we take the plunge, let us introduce ourselves. I'm Dr. Rebecca Sand, a naturopathic physician and licensed acupuncturist specializing in digestive, microbiome, and hormone conditions and integrative fertility.
I'm Dr. Ami Kapadia. I'm a medical doctor trained in family medicine and functional medicine with a special interest in combining standard therapies with lifestyle and nutrition-based interventions.
And I'm Dr. Alana Gurvich, a naturopathic physician, licensed acupuncturist, and a fellow of the American Board of Naturopathic Gastroenterology. I specialize in IBD, IBS, and other functional GI disorders. Let's dive in.
The following discussion is for educational purposes only and not intended to diagnose or treat any diseases or conditions. Please consult your doctor before incorporating any of this information into your care. The information presented on this podcast is not medical advice.
Welcome back, Turd Nerds.
Hey, nerds.
We are doing a very, very important episode that we've been talking about doing forever because it is all the rage.
It's all the rage.
Dr. Sand is going to talk us through the vagus nerve.
Okay, so I'm going to start this by saying when I started prepping this episode, I was like, oh, the vagus nerve. Like, it just feels boring because we all say the same things. You're supposed to like chant and hum and drum and gargle. And like, honestly, has anyone ever seen that change a thing?
I've never actually seen it change.
Yeah, exactly. So I was kind of like, well, I don't want to just tell people to do a bunch of stuff that doesn't work. But you're all in good hands here because I have some other things to talk about. So,
okay, what is the vagus nerve?
well, let me start. So I have an order of things.
Okay,
I'll
great.
get there. But pop quiz, and you already kind of like I have my notes here, but there is a spoiler to this pop quiz. You should know the answer. But what is in common with these conditions? Yes, IBD. Neuropsychiatric conditions like all the usuals, anxiety, depression, but also PTSD, treatment-resistant depression, leaky gut, and all sorts of dysbiosis. What do they have in common?
Nervous system is involved.
The vagus nerve.
The vagus nerve specifically. Yes, all of these are associated with low vagal tone. So, and autonomic imbalance and heightened inflammation. And these will all go together because our vagus nerve actually acts on all of these systems. I know. It's actually really cool. I'm really excited about this episode. So, okay, so all of these conditions, the ones that affect the brain and the gut, are all associated with impaired gut-brain communication, which is really the vagus nerve is kind of the main highway for that. So, do you want to guess what it is? Does anyone know what the vagus nerve is now that we throw it around so much?
Well, I think I know what the vagus nerve is.
Great.
It's one of the core cranial nerves. It's V10, right?
I'm not. Are we?
Like we dissected it at some.
Okay, sorry.
It's involved in the parasympathetic response.
Yes. Both actually, but yes.
Parasympathetic and sympathetic.
Well, it's a bidirectional nerve. So it works on our nervous system in a lot of different ways. But it has afferent and efferent fibers.
Oh God, that used to kill me in anatomy class.
I know, because
when I was in school.
it's not like E is for exit. You know, you can't really use any quick ways to remember it.
Yeah.
I know.
And it's so meticulous. Like, I remember.
That's why I have it written
trauma.
down.
You are now instilling my vagus nerve trauma.
I got you. And the quiz is over.
Okay,
The quiz is over. You passed. Anyway, it's the principal parasympathetic bidirectional line between the gut and the brain. So we've got 80% of the fibers are. Do you want to guess afferent or efferent?
I don't know.
Afferent, meaning it goes from the gut to the nervous system.
Okay.
So that's like most of it is transmitting signals from the gut up.
Oh yeah, this is 90% of communication is from the gut to the brain.
Yeah.
10% is from the brain to the gut.
Yeah. So it's actually 80-20 for the vagus nerve, but very close.
Okay.
Very close. So 80% of its fibers are afferent. Maybe ascending. We can remember A for ascending.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there we go. And 20% are efferent from the brain and the spinal cord down to our gut, which manages gut motility, secretion, and anti-inflammatory cholinergic pathways.
Oh, those also got me. That also tickled my brain.
Cholinergic, yeah, it does motility, which, we already talked about, and all sorts of other things. So those are the 20 going down. But we're going to talk about is a lot of the ones going up, since that's 80% of afferent.
Mm-hmm.
A for ascending.
A for ascending. That was a good one. I wonder if any...
Yeah, where was that in school?
Seriously.
I don't know. Okay. So cool things the vagus nerve does in its afferent ascending nerve sensing. It senses microbial metabolites.
Ooh.
Short chain fatty acids, serotonin is in there, which is pretty cool. It relays that information to the brain. It influences our stress response. So literally this nerve helps to modulate how we as a human respond to stressors in our environment.
That's good.
I know. I mean, there's so much potential here with this nerve. This is why everyone talks about it, but we're all like, what do we do? We're going to get there. We're going to get there. And it sends to the central nervous system. So to kind of just recap afferent versus efferent, unless you guys got it,
Yeah,
I mean,
no.
just a little recap. Afferent, most of them, it senses metabolites, short chain fatty acids, neurotransmitters.
Okay.
Affects our stress response. It regulates our emotions. We actually
Oh.
have it regulating our emotions.
Huh.
I know. And immune modulation. So kind of everything
Kind of everything.
from the gut.
I think
those are the
it's-
fibers going up.
Yeah, isn't this what they sell those devices for? Like those things.
Vagus nerve stimulators.
Yeah.
Are we going to get there?
Yes, we are.
Okay, great.
Yes,
I
we
have
are.
questions about that.
And how it overlaps with Chinese medicine. Because, of
Ooh.
course, ear,
Huh.
we knew that.
Oh, yeah. The
Oh, I meant to bring my little ear.
the little
Next
acupuncture
time.
so people
I
can see
have
it on
my little
YouTube.
acupuncture ear, rats. Well,
Yeah.
maybe next time we'll throw it in there. Okay. So that's the afferent. The efferent is the other direction. So going, it's not always just down, but essentially going from the brain down. We've got secretion of digestive substances
That makes sense.
is modulated on this highway, and the cholinergic signaling, which has to do with inflammation, motility, and all the other things cholinergics do in our body.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And anticholinergics. So a lot of drugs out there. Okay, so that's kind of the sciencey bits.
Okay.
What causes our vagus nerve to have low tone?
Stress.
Yes.
Oh,
Hey, number one.
job on me.
Number one.
Yeah.
Yes, by far. Chronic, especially chronic physiological stress.
That explains why so many people walk into my practice with issues with the
Yes.
vagus nerve.
Yeah. And we'll kind of get to this, but it's a chicken or the egg thing because if you have gut issues, that worsens it. If
Yeah.
you have stress, that worsens it. So it's just this really vicious cycle, and why it's getting a lot of attention is because how do we stop that from just cascading into this gut brain axis disaster?
I will say it is a very, very difficult time to be a human, which explains why we're seeing all of the chronic diseases that we're seeing.
Right.
Yeah.
And like who doesn't have anxiety right now?
Yeah,
I mean, really,
totally.
with all things considered. And a lot of the folks we talk with, it
Mhm.
manifests in their gut.
Yeah,
You know?
totally.
I like to tell my patients I don't think the anxiety or depression is causing your gut issues, but it's not helping.
Yeah.
You know?
And your gut issues
Exacerbates.
might,
Right.
depending
Both
on what data
ways.
set you look at,
Yeah.
be causing the anxiety.
Yeah. We were just doing an episode talking about bloating and how much brain fog that causes, and it's awful. Obviously, they're connected. We're just kind of like unwrapping the science as to
Yeah.
how and what we do about it. Okay, so what causes low tone? Chronic physiological stress, number one. This very literally inhibits vagal activity, disrupting the balance between that sympathetic and parasympathetic, that our vagus is trying to function in that parasympathetic. This goes on to impair inflammation signaling for people, leading to more inflammation for people. Then we get more cortisol dumped in our body, and then we our vagal tone just kind of peters out for folks. So it's kind of this cascade of stress, cortisol, inflammation.
Yeah.
And we have to think about all of those with pretty much every gut condition we talk about. So, and we know that the microbiome does that too. So the microbiome will lead to more cortisol being dumped into people and hormone dysregulation and all of that. So
Yeah.
bad stress. So factors we can't really control that obviously influence this are adverse childhood events,
Yeah.
PTSD, like
It does explain why so many people with adverse childhood
Totally.
events have the chronic GI issues that they have. I mean, that would
even in
explain it.
childhood. I mean, for sure adults,
Yeah.
but even kids who go through really traumatic things often have gut issues,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. for sure.
So a lot of that is vagal nerve mediated because that vagus nerve is like our sense of safety. You know, it's parasympathetic, like our body is calm enough to digest,
Yeah.
safe enough to digest. So those like we can't modify. They happen to us or they didn't. You know, things we can modify that we'll kind of get to that we'll get to. I have a 10-point treatment plan here.
Ooh.
10 things we can do to influence our vagus nerve, but things we can modify: physical activity, sleep, diet. You know, we know all that. We'll just
Yeah.
talk about some
Yeah.
specifics as we go here.
Is it wrong that I hear your 10-point plan and I think, the Turners should come out with a little ebook, the 10-point plan
For everything.
to fixing your nervous system?
Yeah. I feel like when I was doing the bloating one too, like the underlying causes, like I had
10-point
10.
plan?
Yeah. I don't
If you're saying a
we had a lot
conventional
of
doc,
homework.
you've got a 1-point plan, take this pill.
Yeah.
But with a naturopath, you're like 10-point plan, 20-point dietary change.
Yeah. You probably have a lot of homework
Yeah.
from us, but it's sort of like I think of these things as like a buffet. Like,
Yeah.
what is doable for the patient? What can they access? Like, are they in a phase of life we can even talk about diet or not? Like, hopefully we can get there, but lots of routes in is how I like to put it. And the last thing to just kind of recap is this really vicious catch-20 diseases like inflammatory bowel disease, major depressive disorder, all the IBSs, you know, things that cause IBS. They also negatively impact vagal tone. And then the negative vagal tone makes those conditions worse. So that's why this is a really hard thing to get on top
Yeah,
of
it's
for
a
people.
really hard thing to get on top of.
Yep. Okay, so that's kind of the background. What do we do?
Okay, great. You're going to lighten the mood.
Now I'm going to
So
let
this is in addition to the normal sleep, nutrition, all of
Well,
that.
we got that, but I'd like
Okay.
specifics here.
Okay.
So I've got kind of an order of things that we can kind of talk through, and they're all not organized on my page here, but we'll kind of bounce around. So we'll start with the less exciting ones: the gargling, the humming, the
Okay,
chanting, the
this.
drumming.
Explain this, and then we'll explain why it's worth a try, but probably not a long try.
Okay, yeah. So vocal exercises or even drumming, because of the way it sort of resonates in us, stimulate the vagus nerve via the pharyngeal and laryngeal branches. So, it's very physically going in there and just moving the nerve to get it kind of more activated for people. So that's cool. Chanting Om, which has been used by a lot of traditional cultures. There's a reason it really works, and it can really help to regulate your nervous system. So, do that. I don't know if it's going to fix your Crohn's disease, but do it.
I mean, also,
might
just as
help.
an
It might
aside,
help.
chanting Om is a mindfulness technique or a
Yes.
meditation technique that has also been shown to help with a psychiatric modulation of chronic diseases.
Yeah.
Like,
For sure.
you're hitting a couple of buckets by chanting.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. And it's free,
Oh, yeah.
Like the cost is pretty low. The risk is insanely low.
Yeah.
So,
I'm going to say borderline non-existent.
Yeah. So we do have studies on it,
Yeah.
and it has been associated with increased heart rate variability, which is good, and increased parasympathetic tone, meaning like you can maybe more easily get into a parasympathetic state, which who doesn't need that, honestly. So, I mean, do those things: gargling, humming, chanting, singing, drumming.
Okay, great.
I'm not stopping there though.
Okay, keep going.
We're going to
That's
keep
good,
going.
'cause
So that was just one.
That was
just one.
anticlimactic.
Point
I
one.
know. We've all heard of that one. So cold exposure.
I don't
Cold
want to do
exposure.
that one.
Yeah.
How about heat exposure?
Sorry.
Okay, so talk
Maybe
us through.
alternating, although the things I was reading was specifically just cold exposure. So,
Okay, so talk us through.
especially on the face or the neck,
I could do that.
splashing cold water on the face can actually do it.
I could do that.
So, yeah. I mean, when I'm hot, that feels nice. I just stick my head in a freezer because I get hot head. I don't know what that's about, but
You are a hothead.
I am a hothead. I've been told this many times, but you should just do water. Water work. I mean, we all know hydrotherapy
Cold water
works better than compresses or dry heat or cold. So cold stimulation of the face or the neck activates mammalian diving reflex. That's a thing.
I've never heard of that, but okay.
And stimulates vagal afferents.
Okay.
Whole body, if you don't want to do that, which Dr. Kapadia has already said no to.
Cold.
She's definitely not doing whole body though. If she's going to do anything, she's going to do face.
That's right. I mean, would you do face? That's wrong direction. Wrong direction, girl. We're talking about cold.
I'm not doing cold. I can't even put cold water on my
after the
face in the
sauna?
winter.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, no, I just don't wash my face in the night.
Wow. You're worse than I am.
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
I will say the one thing I do religiously do, mainly because I don't want to wait for my hot water to warm up, is use cold water to wash my face at night.
It's too cold.
I do it because it takes too long for the hot water
Right,
to
me
come
too.
in.
Me too.
So
Okay, so go on. What's
who
the next
knew?
thing?
Well, so cryotherapy or cold showers have been shown to increase parasympathetic tone.
For at the
definitely
end
not
of a
doing
hot
that.
shower or just cold?
Just cold. But I would
Yeah, not doing
say,
that.
I mean, we know all the benefits of contrast, so I would just do that.
Yeah.
It's more comfortable.
Yeah.
Also, if you're freezing, that's probably not going to
I
increase tone.
should get back to cold showers at the end of my showers.
I'm not doing it.
It works. It works. People
it
feel
does work.
amazing.
Yeah, I
your
would agree.
energy's better. Your circulation's better. Anyway.
And
so,
also the mental gymnastics of getting over the fear of the cold, which you know is going to be bad.
ugh,
That is
yeah.
also a useful muscle.
Even if
skill.
I'm hot,
Probably.
but
I don't enjoy discomfort.
That's true.
same. I feel like I put in my time there. I'm done. I'm done. But anyway, I actually use this cold around the neck, specifically for migraines.
Oh yeah, I've heard that.
If we think there's probably a vascular component to migraines, so
Good
putting
idea.
cold around the neck, you can even do Epsom salts if you want, in it. But especially putting your feet in hot water.
Oh yeah, I love that. And then I add magnesium in.
in the foot bath. Yeah.
Feet in hot water with the cold pack around the neck.
And on
Cold
the-
water if you can.
Is that a hydrotherapy thing?
Because it restricts blood vessel or it constricts blood vessels on the head and shuts
Oh.
the blood flow down towards the feet.
It
So
actually works pretty well for a
Yeah.
subset of people.
For
And I-
migraines?
yeah, like onset of migraine.
And I do oral magnesium, not on the feet. I do
Oh,
oral
yeah, yeah, yeah.
magnesium. Yeah.
But put a cup of Epsom salt in the foot bath.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Good
Why
idea.
not?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. Okay, so that is number 2, cold
Okay.
exposure. Number 3. Where's my number 3? Number 3. Okay, breathing.
Oh, I hear that's important.
I know. Is there a particular breathing exercise you guys really love?
I-
Just diaphragmatic breathing.
What does that mean? Define
I think it's
diaphragmatic
breathe through your belly breathing.
belly breathing.
Yeah. You guys know what that is.
Mhm.
I will say, I've been talking to Dr. Sand on this podcast a long time. I can tell you she's going to support
You know.
box breathing and
Oh, yeah,
4-7
yeah.
Or
breathing.
7A, that's
right.
my favorite. For gut stuff, like it works for gut stuff and bloating.
Yeah.
So 4-7-4, hold at the top of your inhale for 7, exhale to 8. Easy. You just do it as long as your brain's
Mhm.
remembering it. But that actually like expands the diaphragm. It kind of stretches it.
Yeah.
And it's one of the fastest things to shunt you from a sympathetic state to a parasympathetic state.
According to the data, which we love.
Yeah.
It works though.
Yeah.
Like if I'm heated, in traffic or whatever, mad at someone and I do that, like I feel
Feel better?
Also,
Yeah, totally
no
works.
cost and
Also
no
free.
risk.
Also free.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that works. I also had a physical therapist who told me I was breathing wrong, which I was like, I lecture people about breathing. She was right though. She was right. And she said you really want to imagine like an umbrella
directions.
opening up.
Yeah.
Directions.
Yeah.
Which I thought I was doing, but I wasn't. So I think that umbrella visualization can really help because we think about the belly.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't do it quite as well. So okay.
True.
Okay. So that was number 3. Number 4, social connection.
Of course.
Right. So also kind of free, depending.
Yeah.
That's why we sit in Rebecca Sand's closet.
This is why we're
Yeah.
gathered here today.
Yeah.
Safe touch specifically, they have studied this. So
Massage or
yeah.
Yeah.
As long as it's
Acupuncture.
feeling good and safe to you, gather with your friends, and that actually can do wonders for vagal tone.
When I was in naturopathic school is basically filled with hippies, at least it was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
There were very few parties that did not end in massage circles.
I was talking about going to a massage therapist.
Oh, I was saying that was something that we did.
I
when was
remember
in
a lot
school.
of cranial. We did a lot of cranial.
Yeah, we were 10 years apart. Eric?
Yeah.
Less hippies.
Less hippies probably.
Yeah, it's a fine line. But yeah, different hippies.
Good-
Anyways, positive social interactions, eye contact, for those it's comfortable for, and physical touch, hugs, massage, stimulate vagal pathways involved in co-regulation. So, I mean, that's a no-brainer, but it very literally is acting
Yeah.
on the vagus nerve. So
Yeah.
don't undermine that. Like
Yeah.
we don't get enough of that,
Totally.
most Americans, and it can have really positive implications for your gut.
Yep.
So digestive conditions. So another route in. That was number 4. Number 5, biofeedback.
Oh yeah, of course.
So a lot of it comes back to getting your heart rate variability up. Does anyone
Okay.
want to describe what that is for our listeners?
I think it should.
Kind of just explains itself.
Yeah. Just like your ability to sort of get back. Well, you want significant variation in your heart rate, right?
You want
With
it to be able to adapt.
Yeah.
Yep.
Flexibility.
And so
Totally.
low heart rate variability is a worse predictor for long-term.
It means you essentially your heart rate can adapt to stressors. So if you ever like feel your pulse as you breathe in and out, that you should feel changes in it just as your lungs kind of push up against your
Yeah.
heart. And that's normal. It should speed up and slow down and speed up and slow down. It should also do the same thing in response to what you're doing in your life. And if you have low heart rate variability, I mean, it just kind of stays the same. That isn't very good for
Yeah.
your nervous system. So it's one route in again to kind of be able to help. But this is also used, biofeedback is used to treat all sorts of things. Do you ever recommend it for just gut stuff?
I don't recommend it for gut
The
stuff.
apps I recommend that are biofeedback apps.
Yep, that's a good
Like-
point.
Yeah, like Nerva. And there's a couple other ones now.
And then I recommend it in the context of pelvic floor. They use a biofeedback component for pelvic floor support.
Totally.
So I use it there.
Yeah. And that has repercussions. So it's kind of an indirect way, I would say, probably for gut issues. But I mean, the more we can do to help this poor nerve.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it improves vagal tone by guiding us to breathe at our resonance frequency, which is a term they use in that to be able to help our heart rate variability. Okay. I also would say neurofeedback and really any feedback probably would work.
Yeah.
All the feedbacks. Just learn about your body.
Just learn about your body. Yeah.
All right. So that was number 5. Number 6, manual therapies.
That's only number 5.
Yeah, 10 points.
telling
We're
you.
halfway there.
I know. I just went to town with this. I kind of like staggered exciting ones and boring ones, to just kind of keep people engaged.
Yeah.
Which one does biofeedback fall under?
I would
Exciting
say
or boring?
more excited. I
Okay.
think people get excited about the stuff that, like, honestly, you have to pay for,
Yeah.
really. And if
Yeah.
you're being honest, it's like the stuff we can do at home is like, well, should be chanting home, whatever. Okay, manual therapies is next. And this is different, but it has to do with touch, but also we're actually physically stimulating nerve ends with
Yeah.
a lot of this stuff. So cranio is awesome. I do cranio and love it for my patients. Especially, I think the studies they've done have been cranio on the occiput and the spinal cord, which
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you're going to get a cranio session that doesn't involve that.
That's true.
So
It literally is cranial.
yeah,
Yeah.
we can do lots of other parts, but that's kind of like the gist of it. Osteopathic manipulation, like any of those that are focused on those areas, as long as it's appropriate for people. Auricular acupuncture.
Oh, I love that.
So
It's very painful, but
do
I
you
love
wanna-
it.
Yeah,
Do you use the
painful when
other
you do-
needle still? The thicker needles?
No, I use the
Okay.
very, very small, very fine,
Oh,
really
yeah.
short
Okay.
needles.
They just
Yeah.
jab on in there.
They
The
still hurt?
yeah, I mean, the ear is kind of a sensitive
Yeah.
place, to be
Yeah.
honest.
It's really vascular too,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so it'll usually bleed for
But
people,
it hurts for like a millisecond.
Yeah.
Just when
And
you
it
bring it in.
helps.
it's not like getting your ears pierced,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
So for our listeners, it's a tiny, tiny, like as thin as my hair, and I have
Probably
very
thinner
thin
than your
hair.
hair,
I
actually.
know.
Your
Yeah.
hair is not that
Maybe
thin.
It's pretty thin. It's pretty thin.
She's
That's
not-
what I say. I always say my hair, not your hair to my patients.
In high school, we had to look at our hair under a microscope with someone else, and mine was like
Oh, yours is
You were
long.
blessed.
kind of
You-
like
yeah.
floss.
You were blessed.
That's great, yeah.
Mine's like
For
spider
now,
webs.
it'll change.
Yeah.
It was strange.
Okay, so we got the acupuncture, and we'll talk more specifically about that when we talk about devices and whatnot that we'll get to towards the end. So stay tuned here. But these indirectly stimulate vagal after, so the touch on the nerve endings and all of that. So okay, now we've got exercise.
Oh, obviously.
Obviously,
Yeah.
So
Any motility.
what we've studied for it is moderate intensity consistent exercise. So that's really the key for vagal tone, because it kind of goes back to a sense of safety and all of that. If you just
Like a
all of a
routine.
sudden,
Yeah.
when I tell my patients who are like really, really run down and exhausted, no iron, like postpartum folks, for example, those aren't the people that should just go start sprinting
Right.
around the block.
Maybe yoga.
Like yin yoga is a great option. Tai Chi, things like that are great, because if it's new to you, if it's not consistent, your body's going to think you're being chased by a bear in the woods.
Right.
That does not
not
help the
what we're
vagus
going
nerve.
for.
No,
Right.
you want to like gradually work your way in there to, if you want to be a runner or whatever it is that you like to do, so that your nervous system knows, no, this is actually safe. This was planned.
Yeah.
We don't
Yeah.
need to freak out about this. That's an important distinction with this. But it improves gut motility. We know
Right.
that, right? We tell people to exercise to move
Yep.
their bowels, reduces inflammation, and acts on the vagus nerve. So it enhances vagal tone for people. Okay, where is my next one here? Diet. Diet specifics. Want to guess? How
I mean,
does
just
diet?
regular meals,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
mealtime.
I don't even know if that's on my list, but that makes
with the
sense.
routine, protein. You're always talking about protein.
Yeah, I am talking about
Probably.
protein.
Everyone's always
Blood
talking
sugar
about-
regulation.
Oh yeah, which involves protein.
Yep.
and fiber.
You remember how I talked about the efferents and the short chain fatty acids signals going
Uh-huh.
up to the brain, making sure we have short chain fatty acids.
So fiber, prebiotics.
Yep. Phenols, all of that. But anything that feeds our short chain fatty acid
Yeah.
producers, are specifically
So-
butyrate producers.
Vegetables. Eat vegetables.
Yeah.
Cool.
But
Yeah.
think of how many Americans have a veggie restricted diet.
French fries don't count as your vegetables.
They
It's
don't.
too bad.
I know.
They are
because
good.
they're delicious.
I mean, diversity is important. You
Yeah.
can do something as simple as just eat fiber and change not only how you're pooping, but your vagal tone. Like, it does wonders for that. Probiotics is a food, but also my next item here to talk
So
about.
prebiotics are active constituents within vegetables that
Mhm.
are help feed the
Mhm.
microbiome
Bacteria.
Mhm.
Yeah.
so that you can make more postbiotics like short chain fatty acids.
Yep. Nourish those probiotics. And then we've got probiotics and symbiotics here is next on my list. So specific strains, because people love specific strains, even though I don't know how I feel about that.
I
I
like
think it's a
most.
marketing.
Yeah. Just eat the foods probably.
I eat diversity, eat
Yeah.
diversity. But specifically, what we've studied for vagal nerve tone is lactobacillus and bifidobacterium, because that's what's been studied for everything.
So class
True.
ones.
Yes. So we'll do that. These specific strains modulate vagal signaling and improve gut mood and all of that through strain-specific effects, probably funded by some company.
Mhm.
Lactobacillus rhamnosus, Bifidobacterium longum have demonstrated vagus-dependent anxiolytic effects.
I mean, and those you generally find those strains in almost every.
I know.
Yeah,
Any
correct.
probiotic, you're going
Or
to find them in
yogurts.
food.
Yeah.
So like we've been saying forever, eat fermented foods if you tolerate it. And if you don't tolerate it, maybe have someone check out your histamine stuff.
Boy.
Sorry, and or microbiome stuff, but we got you. Okay, so last one, non-invasive vagus nerve stimulation,
Okay.
VNS.
This is our vagal nerve stimulators.
Oh, you
Yeah.
mean like the tools that you buy?
Yep.
There's
There's a lot of ways, but there are wearables,
Yeah.
and we have more and more coming out about it. So I think this
Yeah.
is one, like, I have never prescribed this.
I have
Okay, anything?
not reliably.
What did
Yeah.
you give
Well,
it for?
Okay, that's not true. I have actually one patient who's on it right now who's actually using it for depression,
Uh-huh.
and she has very strong effect to it.
Interesting.
She has a very, very strong effect to it where she feels like that is the way that she is managing her depression and it works, and she
Yeah.
feels kind of tingly after she puts it on.
Yeah.
And then I feel like for mood, there is a data set that was pretty well validated.
Yeah.
but also for GI, for chronic motility issues, I don't know if
Chronic
I've seen
motility issues are so hard. Like,
There-
it's probably a nudge in the right direction, but
Yeah.
it's not,
the only thing.
a drug.
There's also a migraine device. I don't know if it works.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
again, linking the inflammation,
Yeah.
the immunomodulation,
Yeah.
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 I mean, it's wild. The vagus nerve is like the connector for all
It's,
of
Yeah.
this.
it's a
all of
tricky
it.
thing because it is a little bit more of an expensive intervention.
It-
And I've definitely read some like Reddit posts where people are converting their TENS units, which are pretty cheap, to vagus nerve stimulators.
Yep.
But also I've heard other things that say you absolutely shouldn't do that. So I feel like it's a more expensive intervention.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
That if you're likely to be compliant with doing it for 10 to 15 minutes twice a day, it might be worth looking at.
Mhm.
And
It's a
some of
little
them I
labor
think you can
intensive.
rent too, like
Oh,
before
yeah.
you buy them, I think.
They're studying it for epilepsy as
Okay.
well. So, I mean, there's cool data coming down the pipeline. It's not a pill. I
Yeah.
like that. I also think, it's basically acupuncture, auricular points. I think I'm probably underutilizing that for certain conditions. I love auricular acupuncture, but I wonder about stronger stimulation or the seeds, that we could potentially give to people.
Right.
That you leave in.
Mhm, and have them kind of stimulate on their own. It just kind of like caught my attention. I probably am underutilizing that because the data, they're pro-inflammatory. Like, it literally reduces cytokine production. Pro-inflammatory cytokines, like, that's wild.
Yeah.
You
That is
have
kinda wild.
data on it improving intestinal barrier, so like
Wow.
leaky gut.
Yeah. I mean, it seems really interesting.
Yeah.
I never think that there's anything that's the thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it
whatever
might be
works.
a piece of the puzzle.
exactly. That's the theme of this episode. Is like there's not one thing
The
that
buffet.
fixes the vagus nerve, but the more you can, a lot of it's lifestyle stuff, a lot of accessible stuff. But how often are we actually doing our 4-7-8 breathing? And like, do we need to bump up our fiber? And what
Yeah.
can we do to actually just make sure this nerve has the best chance
Right, right.
possible? Because so much of life is working against it. So much of like
Yeah,
modern life
totally.
is working against this poor nerve, and I think that's why people are talking about it because it's not working.
Yeah.
So yes, think of this as a buffet, and what can we kind of like bring on board? And if you're someone with IBS, IBD, microbiome imbalances, anxiety, depression, PTSD, like, you're probably a good
Think about it.
candidate. For
Yeah.
adding these things
So
in.
what you're saying is, if you're a human that's alive today, you're probably a good candidate. Put these things back in.
For sure, if you're a human listening to this podcast.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Turds.
Thank you.
Thanks, turds.
Thanks for joining us today. Stay tuned. We release episodes every 2 weeks.
If you like this episode, please subscribe and don't forget to rate and review us to help spread the turd nerd word.